like if I had to go up and debate somebody like JD Vance, it's like I think he's so slick. I don't think he could convince me, but I think I would have a hard time in front of a crowd of people convincing that people to listen to my point over his. So
I think I would too, brother. I think I would
yeah,
too, but not because
he's
they're
right. No, but it's because they're so
ex,
slick and there's so
ex,
many but they know, and it's like there's another level because it's like, and this is another thing I think we mentioned before. Every time I uncover something that I think is a nefarious tactic, instantly I get a response. So there's people out there that are aware of all these tactics that are out there. So it's like you just don't. We can't think like like people that are just committed to hurting other people. They can come up. They can use. They still have what could be called creativity, and they can come with creative new ways to hurt people. Right? Stuff that we would never dream of. And we couldn't. We couldn't. If we sat down and tried to think of the worst possible thing we could think of, something's been done in the world that's infinitely worse than that. Because there's that whole other thing out there that we're confronting.
yeah,
So
an evil beyond the scope of our imagination. Exactly
yeah,
what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, and so the way that it's a multi-layer conversation, but like ultimately there's being able to perceive it. Then there's the other next step, the next level you were talking about, which is being able to expose it. The exposing it is a whole different level.
or disarm it.
Yeah,
This is really
exactly.
looking.
Well, you can't really disarm it. Be like only the person activating it can disarm it. So like you can only expose it. That's the best you can hope to do as somebody who's not like engaging in the evil yourself.
That's
Um,
actually good to know. Maybe that's one of the things. Maybe I would fight with that thought, and the reason I would fight with that is because I haven't made enough progress to accept that that's not possible. Sometimes like I think I get these frustrations because you set up you have an expectation that's outside the scope of reality.
that's
So at
right.
some point you do have to have that where you kind of dial back and you recognize what is possible,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I
It's
think
so
is
frustrating to.
well, that's
Yeah.
useful because I do feel that yeah, that frustration is one of the things that bothers me. So knowing having kind of parameters like that to help kind of manage that frustration I feel to be more productive is a useful thing to
But
take away.
exposing is almost just as powerful. Like, trust me. Like, you'd be surprised how much power exists there because they're not used to being exposed.
You're
That
exposing them to themselves or to the people
both,
you're talking.
both, both, right?
Now that's
Because
so these people are acting without conscious awareness that they're acting in the interest of evil.
no, no, no. Even if they have conscious awareness, because just like you were saying, right, that you and I cannot imagine the evil that they can perpetrate, right?
Oh,
They can't imagine the love that we can create. That is our power. So listen, brother, like there's a counter to that. And like it's just something that's so absurd that most people never actually get there because it's something that is not really out there. It's not something that anyone's talking about. It's not really it's something you have to see for yourself kind of to a certain extent. Which is like the power of love. Um love can be a powerful weapon just like hate can. And it's kind of something that you just have to I don't know, observe, I
yeah,
think.
no, you got to be there. You had to
Yeah,
be there.
yeah.
Is the same. No, but I think I see what you're. But because what you do is the hard part is when you're trying to convince people there's a better way, and they're convinced you're trying to get them to show vulnerability so you can take advantage of them. That's what they're convinced of. So that's one of the things that it's a. So like getting to that point, but then what they'll do kind of too when it's like they'll say, okay, well you show me, so you show your vulnerability, then they smack you just to show you. So you get kind of that kind of dynamic
So
just to show
then
you that you're
what
wrong.
yeah, so then the way you fortify yourself from that, right, is that your vulnerability doesn't leave you vulnerable to them. So like
Yeah,
yeah, so like I mean
I know that. Yeah,
it
that's one I've known where you give a part. It's like here's something that makes me vulnerable, but it's 1% of my total vulnerability.
yeah,
Take
and
it or
then you
leave
see
it.
how they
Then they
react,
destroy it.
right? Because
Yes,
these
yes, I
people
know
they
that one.
they
Yeah,
can't help themselves. Like
yeah.
they
It's like the playing when you're sitting in the back seat of the kid with the car, and he's got his hand on my side of the bench. Like you're pestering somebody just out of sheer boredom
exactly.
when you could have a good time together. You could.
Or you could just leave them alone, but you can't because you see that hand and you're just like, "Oh, I'm just going to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
doing
Well,
it. Keep doing it."
there is that. because there's that compulsion to occupy yourself with tormenting somebody that I think it has to be. I don't know. Is that a because everybody because there'll be times I'll pester. I mean, you'll play around with your kids or whatever. You're pestering them a little bit, and then they're laughing and stuff. But I don't know if that's a bad thing. It's like because I don't usually antagonize. I don't antagonize my kids, but it's one of those things where it's like people kind of fall into that pattern of behavior. You'll see it in other people doing it too, and it's like it's sometimes you'll see the points like clearly that kid is not enjoying this anymore. And this is I understand that this is your guys' way of interaction, but the kid doesn't enjoy this anymore. Yeah. I don't know. To what extent is that? Is there any side to that? You tease people sometimes. Teasing people, is that in all cases bad too? I guess
I
I don't
think
know.
that, teasing people is it's a defense mechanism for a lot of people, to be honest. And overly
Yeah.
teasing people is like normally it has more to do with the person doing the teasing than
Yeah.
the teasee, if you
That's an
will.
attempt to control a conversation and deflect from the critical thinking that needs to be going on.
It's like
If
someone
you're
making a
if you're
joke, right? When you're having a serious
yeah,
conversation.
yep, then you deflect away and you've controlled the conversation.
Thanks for watching. For access to the full length conversation and all of the 2 hour long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.